and today we are making one of my favorite ways to cook pork chops. Super simple, very, very tasty, and I called them orange thyme sheet pan pork chops. Super easy because most of the work is done in your oven. You do a little bit of prep, and some of that you can prep the day before, and then you put them on a sheet pan and you pop them in the oven. When it comes out, everything is done. You can even eat straight off the sheet pan if that's your thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a bowl, and we are going to put our sliced fennel into the bowl. Now, if the sight of this panics you because you don't know how to prepare a fennel, or maybe you don't even know what a fennel is, this is a fennel, and I made you a handy dandy separate video just on how to prepare a fennel. So don't panic when you see this at the store and then watch the video and see that and wonder how it went from here to there. Go check out the how to prepare fennel video and you will see exactly how to do that very simply while keeping all your fingers. But that is a fennel if you've never seen one in the store. That is the end result. The video will teach you how to get from here to there. So I have my fennel slices. I am going to put them in my bowl, and then I am going to get my cherry tomatoes. And these just look prettier. Let me put that there so you can see if they are sliced in half. Cherry tomatoes can be a little unruly if they're left to roll around the joint. So, and the way I do this is I just hold both sides and slice down the middle. If you have a nicely sharpened knife, it will take almost zero effort. And once you get into a rhythm, you can actually go quite fast. So these flavors, orange, thyme, fennel, and tomatoes, go together really, really well. And they all go really well together with pork. But you could, if you prefer, if for whatever reason pork's not on your list of things to eat, but you think the combination sounds really good, you could also do this with chicken cutlets or boned chicken pieces. If you use chicken breasts, you would want to slice those in half. So at the bottom of the recipe, you will notice that it says to buy thin cut pork chops. And there is a good reason for saying thin cut, because you want to make sure that the veggies and the pork cook at the same amount of time. So if you buy thick pork chops, or if you use chicken breasts that are thick, that you haven't cut them in half, you'll find that by the time your meat is cooked, your veggies will be mush. So it won't be such a nice experience for you. So that's why the recipe states thin cut. Okay, so that is all of our tomatoes with our fennel in our bowl. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add our avocado oil, and we're going to add the juice from our orange. And if you've been in a situation where you've had people screaming to you that oranges aren't keto, please do bear in mind that quantity or serving size matters. The amount of juice, orange juice, in this whole recipe, which as you see I've got 4 very large pork chops. They're thin, but they're big. So you're talking about a quarter of a cup. That's not even going to give you half a carb. So you really don't need to worry about the orange juice that's in this recipe. So now we've got the oil, the juice, our fennel and our tomatoes in the bowl, and we're going to toss them until they're thoroughly coated. Now you could totally use a big old spoon, which I will do, but you could always also just use your fingers, which I am much more inclined to do. I don't want to leave you to go wash my hands, so I'm going to do the spoon route. So you want to toss this all together until everything is thoroughly coated. You don't want your veggies to dry out. You don't want them to stick to the pan. So very, very well coated. Now you can, if you like, you can use 1 big sheet pan. I just prefer to use 2 small ones. And you can, if there's 2 of you, you could do 2 trays. Cover one in plastic wrap, pop it in the fridge, bake one now for today, and then have the other one ready to bake tomorrow, if that's a thing for you. Or of course, if you're feeding 4, or you're you know, big, you're an athlete, you're whatever, and you eat more, you can totally do it on a full-size baking sheet. I just like to do it on 2 small ones, but you do you. The other thing about this is that you can totally prepare, to make this even faster, you can prepare the veggies the day before, you can prepare the coating that we're going to do now for the pork chops ahead of time. So really on the day, your on-time work is just minutes, super fast. So I've got my veggies done, and I am going to divide them in half. Of course, if this was a single sheet pan, I wouldn't be dividing it in half. Just going to spread those out nicely, like that. You do want to get them in a even layer so that they cook evenly, not all piled down one end. Spread them out. It already looks beautiful. I love this dish. When I first came up with it, I remember that dinner. Super yummy, loved it. One of my favourites. Okay, so you've got your veggies there. And now we are going to make the coating, the crust for the pork chops. So what you want to do is you want to get a shallow bowl. And in this shallow bowl, we're going to add our orange zest. Orange zest, if you're not familiar with that term, you could also call it rind. It's the orange part of the skin of an orange. That's where all the flavour is, the orange oil. Smells beautiful. If you are not familiar with how to zest, there's a video for that. So just go and check out the video for actually zesting lemons and limes, I think it's called. But the process is exactly the same, and that will show you how to zest and how to juice an orange if that's a new to you thing. So go check out the zesting video. We've got our orange zest here, and I am going to add to it our grated. You see how finely this is grated? I actually bought it like that from the store. I always keep my Parmesan in the freezer so it lasts longer. And because it's grated so finely, it's never a problem. Just get it out of the freezer, scoop out what you need and put it back. So I've got my grated Parmesan, and I've got my pork panko. And then the last thing I need is my thyme. So this is fresh thyme, and I thought I would just show you how fresh thyme goes. And we need a tablespoon, which in the world of fresh herbs is quite a lot. So what I do, oh, that doesn't normally happen. What I normally do is with thyme is I grab one end and I just pull off the, normally if you hold one end firmly and go the opposite way to the way the leaves are growing. Oh my goodness, that smells so good. You will get, so hold it firmly at the top and then just run your fingers down and it will effectively strip. The stalk at the top tends to be a little bit fragile, so you may just have to pick those bits off, but the rest of it should come off pretty easily. So that's how I start out the thyme, just getting the leaves off. Just make sure you haven't got any big bits of stalk. This is one of the reasons why I love growing my own herbs. It's because buying them from the store can be a bit spendy. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, before you start this, if you're not preparing these in advance and you're eating them today, then before you start this, you just want to put your oven on 400 degrees, so that's ready. So that was about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that was 6 stalks, and we're not quite there yet. So I'm going to say about 8. About 8 of these little stalks is going to give you enough. Yes, thyme is a little bit fiddly. Because this is a dry roast, pretty dry roast, I do not recommend trying to use dried thyme. My iPad just turned itself off, bless his heart. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to do one more. And you can actually leave your thyme like that if you like. Actually, I'm going to do one more because I like mine super thymy. I love the flavour of thyme, and it goes really, really well with the other ingredients that we have in this dish. And you can just leave it like that if you like. So that's my thyme. Just get rid of this. That's my thyme. I'm actually just going to take a minute or 15 seconds and just chop this a bit finer. Using a chef's knife, which is a knife that has a much deeper blade than a handle, so that when you chop, you don't smash your hand on the board. And how you do that, you put one hand on the point of the knife to hold it still, and then you just go, keeping the point in the same place, you just rock backwards and forwards with your knife. So there is your chopped thyme. I'm going to add all that deliciousness into my bowl here, and I am going to mix all of this really well. It might take, if the orange zest might be a little bit sticky, so you do want to make sure that your orange zest is evenly mixed. And as soon as they're separated with the dry ingredients, you'll find that they'll separate very well and stop being sticky. And I recommend you do this in a shallow bowl because you're actually going to dip or press your pork chops into this glorious mixture. And if you smell that, oh my goodness, it smells so good. I recommend you take a second to smell your mix before you start doing it. Okay, so we've spread, it's mixed well, and we've kind of spread our mixture out evenly across the bottom of the dish. Now what we're going to do, we've got our I did forget the salt and pepper in my excitement. So before we do that, I'm going to give a few quick grinds of pepper. And then I have my favorite salt, which is Redmond Real Salt, highly recommend. Because they are so kind, we have a 15% discount. So there will be a link and a magic code for you to use for that. And so I'm just gonna, this is quite, there we go, add some salt in there. Mix that through again. And spread it out. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get our pork chops. I really like using the bone-in, like the French pork chops for this, just because it looks so pretty, but you don't have to do that at all. You can use whatever thin sliced pork chops you like, bone-in, unboned, boneless, whatever you want, or also the chicken breast. But you'll see how thin these are. And you don't want to go any thicker than that, as I say, because they'll take too long to cook and your veggies will be mush. So we're going to get our pork chops and we're going to push one side. And we're just going to leave it at one side. And then we're going to, there it is, we're not going to coat the underside. If you coat the underside, that topping is just going to be soggy. So I don't recommend it. Plus you'll need a lot more. So you just push one side in and then you put your chop on top of your veggies. And you repeat. Do a little bit more there. Push it down nice and firmly. These look absolutely fabulous when they come out. This tray of orange, fennel-y, tomato, porky deliciousness. So we're just going to lay our chops on like that. Now, I am going to rinse my hands. And what I'm going to do is I am going to sprinkle. I'm not going to waste this glorious topping here. And the reason I have a bit more topping is because these chops were very big. If you look at the pictures that go with the recipe, you'll notice that I had 7 chops for the same weight. So they were very smaller. So I used more of the topping. So I'm not going to waste this. You have a couple of options. You can either put this in an airtight container and save it for another pork chop night. You can do what I'm doing and just sprinkle extra. If you have any extra, you can just pat that extra onto your pork chops. So you get all of that flavour, extra crispiness. Yum. Or if you too have big chops and you have some left over, as I say, airtight container in the fridge because it's got the cheese in, and use it another night. And there is your super fast, super simple, but amazingly delicious orange thyme sheet pan pork chops. Now these, all you do is you simply slide these in your oven, which you've preheated to 400 degrees, and you bake them in the center of the oven for 25 minutes. After 25 minutes, pull them out, and Bob's your uncle. Dinner is done. So super fast, super easy stuff you can prep ahead of time. Put this in rotation on your weekly or monthly meal plan. Enjoy.